My OFAR project in particular was for my child family and community class. And my intent was to include a few reflective assignments regarding specific topics where students were able to share from their experiences and from their own lives. And what I quickly realized was that students seemed more engaged with these self-reflective assignments. They seemed very eager and very willing to share of themselves and to express their voices. And so my intent to just have a few self-reflective assignments very quickly became a weekly theme for our class. And one of my biggest takeaways from this project, for my project in particular, was the fact that the students co-created this safe space for one another, and they sustained it throughout the semester. And this is something that I hope I can continue, and I can continue to learn more about and practice even more and hone in future classes. And this is all thanks to the support of my Moorpark team and colleagues from our institution, and to the OFAR project. So thank you so very much for this wonderful experience, and I look forward to working more with all of you.
Hey team, how we doing? So I want to share with you one project I was working on in my Intro to Stats course called The Tale of Two Cities. In this project, students are asked to examine home prices in two California cities. One's going to be right here, Compton, and the other is going to be Pasadena. So in here, we're going to conduct a hypothesis test on, which city has a significantly higher average home price. But then we're going to dive a bit deeper using this anti-racist theme. So what students will find is a significant difference in average price. Pasadena on average about $500,000 more than similar homes in Compton. And so we look into, well, what's the reason? And so we look into the demographics. Compton, home of some West Coast gangster rap, known for crime, home to a larger number of minorities. Pasadena, known for Rose Bowl, tourist spot, a lot less minorities there. And the reason is, well, why are these neighborhoods formed this way? How are they like that? So what we stumble upon is a form of institutional racism called redlining. And so in there we talk about the origins of redlining and how it began. And then we go further to see how it impacted us right here in our backyard. So we look into the history of redlining in LA. And since this is a stats course, we want to look at these multidimensional graphs to help us illustrate what's going on. So what you see here in red were outlined as least desirable neighborhoods, and in green as most desirable neighborhoods. And so what we look at are the distributions of race within each of these neighborhoods. And so if you look here, for example, white, you see darker hue of blue indicates a larger percentage. Light blue to white, least percentage. So we see here is most desirable, a lot more white, right? And then we can keep going and look at different races. And if you look at Latino here, right, we see in this least desirable a large concentration of Latino, and whereas the most desirable, a very small concentration. You can tell by these colors here, right? So using these images, we begin to discussions, and we propose solutions on how do we eliminate these lines that have been put forth for us, right? But hope you enjoy this project. Peace.
Hello. For my OFAR project, I selected Introduction to Curriculum. I picked this course because it's about teaching. In the past, I noticed that sometimes the focus becomes primarily on the content to be taught. And sometimes it's easy to lose sight of the fact that we need to make sure we're providing this kind of learning for children in ways that are appropriate and supportive of all children. So I wanted to center anti-racism and culturally sustaining practices in the course. In early childhood education, we talk about the platinum rule, treating others the way you would like others to treat others. So I'm hoping that by the way I treat my students, they're going to also treat their future students. So I thought it was important to begin with community building. We did this in a variety of ways, and I was really impressed by the level of openness and vulnerability students shared. This isn't always easy, especially in an asynchronous online course, but I think this truly helps students then move into our course content and be comfortable sharing their ideas with one another. I did a pre and post assessment in the course. I was pleased with the results of how students saw themselves learning and growing. I asked students before the course began if they could identify various ways in which race and racism influenced the early childhood classroom. And before the course, 28% of students said that was true of them. And at the end of the course, 78% of students said that was true of them. We also looked at examples of anti-racist, culturally responsive experiences with young children. In this particular example, a former student of mine is reading Ibram X. Kendi's Anti-Racist Baby to a group of 2 to 4-year-olds. It's truly wonderful for students to see the way that young children can respond meaningfully to these ideas.
Hi everyone. In this coursework, I work with my Spanish Intermediate 1 class, M200, and some of the areas I focus on with this approach were building community. That was a really important aspect for me to ensure that my students felt more safe and comfortable discussing challenging topics such as racism. And in order to do that, I formed community agreements with them, co-creating them from the start of the course. I also adopted the identity wheel in our introductory discussion and set an example for vulnerability in those discussions where I posted my answer first. And I really felt that this was a key change in my course where students open up a lot from the start and carry that throughout the course. Another main aspect that I focused on was promoting more agency among my students, having the freedom to choose how they wanted to communicate, especially in culturally relevant and sensitive areas, as well as being more intentional in the representation of Black, Indigenous, and people of color in my assignments. And that's one of the main takeaways that I take from OFAR, that students come with a breadth of knowledge and that we need to empower them to co-create with us the course that best serves them. Thank you.